Welcome to today's Explainer. We are unpacking an absolutely electric, transformative 15-year stretch of history today. We're looking at the period from 1915 to 1930, an era that completely revolutionized India's fight for freedom against British colonial rule. This is the time when scattered regional resistance consolidated into a massive, unstoppable nationwide movement. We're going to see how the political landscape of an entire subcontinent was fundamentally rewritten.
Okay, let's dive into the roadmap. We'll be covering the rise of Gandhi, the sparks of rebellion, the non-cooperation movement, the Chaura setback, the Simon Commission protest, and finally, the demand for Poorna Swaraj.
It all really hinges on this one pivotal question, doesn't it? How did one man stepping off a boat on January 9th, 1915, become the catalyst that would shake the foundations of the mighty British Empire? Because when Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi returned home from South Africa, he wasn't just bringing himself back. He was bringing an entirely different approach to political resistance.
Part 1. The Rise of Gandhi, a new leader and a new weapon. He realized pretty quickly that traditional forms of violent rebellion or just signing political petitions weren't going to cut it anymore. He needed a weapon the masses could actually wield. And that weapon was Satyagraha. It's a fascinating concept that literally translates to truth force. Now, it is absolutely critical to understand that this wasn't some passive, weak resistance. Gandhi believed that enduring suffering while refusing to strike back required immense active courage. It was a highly proactive tool designed to fight injustice by appealing directly to the conscience of the oppressor. And he was about to test it out on Indian soil.
To see how fast this caught on, just look at how things played out between 1917 and 1918. Gandhi scores 3 rapid, highly localized victories that establish him as a true mass leader. Down in Champaran, he fought the exploitative system forcing farmers to grow indigo. Over in Ahmedabad, he led a successful hunger strike for mill workers demanding a bonus to survive rampant inflation. And in Kheda, he secured tax relief for farmers devastated by crop failure. In basically 2 years, he proved to the whole country that Satyagraha actually worked.
Section 2. The Sparks of Rebellion. The Draconian British Response.
Now, the British government wasn't just going to sit back and watch this nationalist momentum grow, right? As Gandhi's influence expanded, the colonial administration panicked and decided they needed a heavy-handed way to crush the rebellion. Enter the horrific Rowlatt Act of 1919. Officially, it was meant to curb revolutionary crimes, but everyone in India knew it as the Black Act. The outrage is perfectly captured by a slogan from the time: "No vakil, no appeal, no dalil," which meant no lawyer, no right to appeal, and no right to an argument. The act literally allowed the government to arrest anyone without a warrant and throw them in jail for up to 2 years without a trial.
The protests against this draconian law culminated in one of the absolute darkest days in modern history. On April 13, 1919, during the Baisakhi festival, a large, unarmed crowd was gathered peacefully in the enclosed grounds of Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar. General Dyer, wanting to spread terror and enforce a ban on public meetings, blocked the only narrow exit. He then ordered his troops to open fire on the trapped crowd. This horrific, senseless violence deeply fractured any remaining trust and became a massive catalyst for nationwide rebellion.
Section 3. The Non-Cooperation Movement. Uniting the Masses.
So you take the sheer outrage from the Jallianwala Bagh massacre and you combine it with the Khilafat issue, which was the anger of Indian Muslims over the mistreatment of the Ottoman Caliph after World War I. Gandhi saw a strategic window here to unite the country. By supporting the Khilafat movement, he forged a powerful alliance between Hindus and Muslims. This unified front pushed the Indian National Congress to pass a monumental resolution at their September 1920 Calcutta session. The plan? Launch a full-scale, non-violent resistance against British rule to hit them where it hurt the most, their administration and their economy.
What I find absolutely fascinating here is how grand political strategy translated directly into everyday actionable steps. We aren't just talking about politicians giving speeches. We're talking about ordinary citizens refusing to buy foreign clothes, students walking out of colonial schools, lawyers leaving the courts, and everyday folks spinning their own khadi cloth at home. These actions empowered normal people to literally paralyze the colonial system from the ground up.
Section 4. The Chaura setback. The breaking point of nonviolence. The movement was working beautifully. It was putting immense pressure on the administration, sweeping through cities and rural villages alike. But then, in February 1922, a dramatic twist brings everything to a screeching halt in a small town called Chaura.
A group of volunteers was peacefully protesting against high food prices and liquor sales. Out of nowhere, the local police responded by opening fire on the crowd. The situation rapidly escalated, and the enraged mob chased the police right back to their station and set the building on fire.
The sequence of events is just deeply tragic. It started when 3 innocent civilian protesters were killed by the initial police gunfire. That loss of life was the spark that ignited the mob's fury and pushed them completely over the edge.
And the retaliation was brutal. 22 Indian policemen died in the resulting fire inside the station. And the really devastating layer here? Under the colonial administration, this was Indians fighting and killing fellow Indians.
Gandhi's reaction is crucial to understand his philosophy. He was absolutely shocked and dismayed by the bloodshed. To him, the movement had completely lost its moral high ground. He believed the country simply wasn't ready for true, disciplined nonviolence. So, he abruptly suspended the entire non-cooperation movement on February 12, 1922. This was a hugely controversial decision. It drew severe criticism from other prominent leaders who felt they were right on the brink of victory, but Gandhi just refused to compromise on his principles.
Section 5. The Simon Commission Protest. A nation regroups.
Following the suspension, there was a period of political recalibration. Let's jump ahead to 1928. The British government prematurely appointed a 7-member statutory commission, led by Sir John Simon. Their mandate was pretty massive: evaluate the political situation in India and suggest major changes to the administrative structure of the entire subcontinent.
This next part is just a textbook example of colonial arrogance. The British intended to decide the entire administrative future of India with exactly 0 Indian members on the commission. All 7 members were British. You can imagine the reaction. It was immediate and fiercely united across all political parties. Everywhere the commission went, they were met with nationwide boycotts, black flags, and roaring chants of "Simon, go back." Tragically, it was during one of these intense protests that the great leader Lala Lajpat Rai died after a brutal police lathi charge.
Section 6. Demand for Poorna Swaraj. Drawing the final line.
The sheer refusal of the British to offer any meaningful compromise pushed Indian leaders to their absolute breaking point. They realized that asking for concessions within the empire was a dead end. This culminated in the historic 1929 Lahore session of the Indian National Congress. They officially dropped any demand for half measures or dominion status and passed the monumental resolution for Poorna Swaraj, which means complete independence. This shifted the whole freedom struggle into its most defiant, uncompromising gear yet.
To cement this new era, they declared January 26, 1930 as Poorna Swaraj Day across the entire nation. People gathered everywhere to take a pledge of independence. This wasn't just symbolic either. It set the absolute stage for the massive, earth-shaking civil disobedience movement of the 1930s.
Think about what we've covered today. Gandhi's return introduces satyagraha. The trauma of Jallianwala Bagh unites the masses, and the sheer arrogance of the Simon Commission pushes India to demand absolutely nothing short of total freedom. The nation was awake, the nonviolent methods were proven, and the demand was complete independence. So what would be the final spark to make the British Empire crumble? Well, that is a fascinating question, and it's exactly what we'll explore next time. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking questions, and I'll catch you in the next one.